One thing you want to remember when you do these things, get rid of your watch, put it somewhere else, because it's gonna get scratched 100%. I want to show you the back of the van without the seats. You can see how spacious it is. That the water tanks are gonna be on this area here, and the sink and the stove will be here, and I need to put the water tanks on the floor, but there is the wheel well here, the wheel arch, so that takes a fair amount of space. And I still need to have enough space on the right for half the bed, plus the bed needs to open and fold onto this cabinet. So the two things are connected, and I cannot risk to make this bed too big and then I don't have enough space for the water tanks on this side. So I'd rather have smaller water tanks here for the morning when you want to brush your teeth or wash your face than not having them at all. So I still want to make sure that I have space here for this cabinet to contain all that stuff. Let's put the water tanks there and see how much space they take. That's the very big tank, 6 gallons and 23 liters. Obviously, as you can see, putting this tank here is a problem. Like, it seems fairly big, probably too big to fit two of them at least. So if you take this space into account and I want to put one next to the other, it would be like this wide. The cabinet will have basically to cover all this, and what that means is that the bed will have only probably this much space, which is probably too little. So according to the project and the measurement I have on paper, the single bed is 36 by 74 and the double bed is 54 by 75, and you can see how this is gonna work here. So that's where the bed is, and then you can fold it out and have a double bed. So let's get on to measuring. This is Argo here. Hello, Argo. Yeah, is guarding the house. It's a barky dog towards other dogs. But so first of all, we need to measure here. So this is a 36 inches, so I am afraid that I will only be able to do a single bed, probably a comfortable single bed of 36 inches in the back. So that's to be determined. So let's put the other water can next to this one and see how it works. Good boy. You can see the difference in size as well. So you have 23 liters or 6 gallons versus 10 liters or 2.5 gallons. Now, having a fridge, it means that I can always have some other drinks in the fridge. So even if I only have 10 liters of usable water, that's not too bad. And I can just empty the dirty water earlier, sooner. But I don't think I'm gonna use that much water anyway, and so that would be probably good enough. So I could put two of these next to each other and then have all the rest of the space. But definitely we know that this water tank is too big. So for the sake of demonstration, I put the tape one side to the other pretty much, and here it's 56. There is probably a couple more inches, so it's gonna be a 58 or 59 inches the whole width. And you can see that having this water tank here, we are at pretty much 41 inches of space. So that's a little bit smaller than a double bed, but it's still plenty comfortable, since I most of the time travel alone with my dog. So I think that's what I'll go for. We can safely say that we can do the cabinet on this side 20 inches, and that will bring us pretty much 40 inches once the bed is open, which seems fairly good, considering also that you have to add a 3/4 of an inch for the wood thickness. I think it's 3/4 of an inch, and so that gives us a little bit of leverage to put straps or whatever we want to put to hold that can in place. So obviously those two seats, I'm gonna remove those two as well, and on that side is where all the electrical stuff will be, exactly like I did in my previous van, in my previous Delica. So in order to remove these seats, the back seats, they slide on this rail here, so we will have to remove the rails too. But first I need to remove this cover. So there is this couple of screws there in the back. It's probably just see what that is. Let's try with 13. It seems small. Yeah, so it's 14 then, or 15. Let's see. The good thing is that these bolts are really solid. All good materials, classic Japanese quality. Let's try this one again. This time I'm using this key instead of the open branch. This has more leverage, can apply more force. And now we have to do the other seat and then we move on. So let me show you here. The rails have these bolts here. There are these cups on the carpet that you can remove, and then you can basically unbolt all these. And actually I've used these bolts on the other side in the last build, on that side, to anchor down the base of the cabinet. So the cabinet was anchored using these bolts. I just had to use the longer ones, and that's really solid because this goes all the way through the chassis, and there is a bolt welded underneath, so it's pretty solid. So I'm gonna do the same thing, and nothing is gonna go on this side in terms of cabinets or anything, but the subwoofer will be here, so I'll probably have to cover these rails with something. I don't know, I'll figure it out afterwards. Now I'm gonna get rid of these rails, and then I'll remove those ones as well. Again, it's a 14mm socket, so I have an extension as well, just to make the job easier. And then I'm gonna remove these ones. Holy crap. Okay, so since these are super tight, and probably these have never moved for 20 years, I'm gonna get a bigger bar, a breaker bar, so that makes the job easier. Right, breaker bar is a very important piece of gear, because sometimes you don't want to just brute force stuff, just play with physics. So this is gonna give us a much bigger lever, and so we can break the bolts very simply. Right, so I'm gonna break loose all of them. You hear that? That was a lot of years of being screwed in there. And probably there are more here, but I will need to remove the carpet before removing those. So I'm just gonna go ahead and remove this. One thing I want to mention is that these bolts that we are removing usually have a Loctite in order to seal them and block them, and avoid the vibration, make them loose. And also that's true because these go through the chassis of the van, and so if the bolt is a little loose, water can flow through. in case you get to the point to have water so high, you know, in your van. For what I can see here, there is no Loctite or no nothing else. I might actually put some of that afterwards when I put the cabinets on. So now, in order to remove the other side of the rail, there are more bolts on this side, but I have to expose the chassis of the van, the floor of the van, and raise the carpet. So in order to do that, I need to remove this piece of plastic here. Yeah, and then there is this thing that I have to get rid of. This is gonna be a little bit annoying. So now I'm removing this panel here. I'm gonna have to be careful because there is the light in there, and it comes right off like this, and there is the switch, and this is the light that is in there. And another good tip is to put the screws back where they were, and usually I tape them in as well. I put a little bit of painting tape so that, you know, they stay put and you don't have the problem of losing screws or not knowing where to put them and so forth and so on. So now this one is off. I'm not gonna tape the screws right now. I'm just gonna lift the carpet, and the carpet is actually stapled on these rails, on the rubber side of the rails, and it looks like there isn't any other bolt, but only these staples holding the carpet. So I'm gonna get rid of those. Watch out, usually you want to wear gloves. Now I'm really used to this kind of stuff, and if I hit my finger on the staples, it doesn't really hurt me that much anymore. But if this is something you are not used to and your hands are a little bit more delicate, then you want to make sure that you wear gloves. And when I do mechanical work, which is a little heavier on your hands, I always wear gloves anyway. And there is another bolt at the end there, so I need to move the seat forward. Alright, I've removed all the bolts, and now I can remove this rail. Now let me give you another view of the rails removed. And it looks like this insulation layer here, this is a fire retardant but also works as an insulator, is probably 3/4 of an inch or maybe 2 centimeters, I'm not sure, but I can definitely get a piece of wood that is a similar height and make the same shape as this and fill this up. And of course now this carpet has the hole of the rail, so I would have to cover it up somehow. Maybe I'll put a carpet on this area anyway, just because with the dog, you know, it keeps it cleaner. I am not gonna put a floor in the back. I don't like that. I think the carpet is fine, it holds up pretty well, it's easy to clean. So as you can see, I'm putting all the screws back in their own holes. I'm just gonna hand tight them. I'm not gonna do, you know, too much work with that. They're just there for the moment, for the time being. And these bolts here are the front seats. I've removed those, and now I got a screwdriver here because on this side is missing here, but on this side there is still this plastic clip before being able to unscrew the bolt. So this is removed. I'm gonna go ahead and unscrew those two bolts and then get rid of the front seat as well. I don't really need a powered tool to remove those bolts. So I've cleaned up all this area now. no seats in the way. We have to do the other side, and then everything is open up and we can start checking how to set the cables and how much space all the electrical stuff is gonna take. All right, so all the seats are out finally. All the rails are out, all the seats are out. We have the van completely clean, and that's how it looks like. So you can see plenty of space to work with now. Now we can put all the cables, make sure that everything goes where it needs to go. I'm gonna have to remove the side panels as well, but before removing the side panels, I'm gonna finish up the front and make sure that everything in there is positioned. So next step is position all the elements that we have, all the stuff that I've bought, make sure that that's the right position we want them in, and then you know, obviously start attaching all the cables and whatever we need to do. So now we need to make sure that the cabinet that we are building is wide enough to put all the stuff, that the bed can comfortably open, and that the cabinet that has the sink and the stove is not gonna be too small to fit the water tanks and the propane tank. So these are the three key things that we have to take care of right now.